Hello, my name is Rick Houston, and welcome to the Scene Vault Podcast, your source for all things NASCAR history. Presented by Las Vegas Motor Speedway, America's racing showplace.
You probably want me to get into it, right?
Sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
sure, yeah. Show my ass some more. So, they come to have big team meeting. Big team, he fired me in front of everybody. So it turns out no biggie. So I had to load the toolbox up. I jumped up and I jacked them up. And I did get the jump on them, but I mean, you know, you can jump the green flag and get away with it, that's what you do.
The day NASCAR and all of us associated in any way with NASCAR forget its past, that's the day we don't have any future.
All right. So before today, DK Orrick has been one of our most interesting interviews that we've had here on the podcast. What is your best DK story?
Getting fired.
Okay.
And I don't blame him, dude. DK's cool. And, you know, the more I know about him and stuff, and even the time I was there, so yeah, I mean, you know, DK's DK, but it's what an interesting life. And I mean, it's just his deal with who was driving his cars and stuff like that. It's just cool. I mean, it's you don't have that anymore. There's no privateer now putting this guy in a car, that launching this guy. I mean, you could correct me a little bit on that. That stuff's not happening now. This was just cool stuff, you know, and people don't have the appreciation. They all act like, oh, all of a sudden, this is the first year that it costs money to go racing. That's not true. People were going broke at Indianapolis in 1922, you know. You've always needed money to go racing. Yes, different amounts, maybe the way it's sourced, and some of the way it was sourced in NASCAR going back years ago is, you know, you and I know, probably wouldn't fly in this day and age. But, so yeah, I worked for DK after I got tossed from active because I left a pit crew guy at the track. Guy got lost, part-time guy, and, you know, we're working 7 days a week and whatnot, and he was telling me where he was, and, you know, we're in the parking lot, can't find this guy, see you later. So I got canned, which was great because that was a Bristol race. Pouring rain after the race. You're in this back then. The hill was a big mud pit. I think it's all paved now and stuff. But this guy here, man, I think it was at it might have been Rockingham. And few of us come up, you know, our cash was stolen out of our pants in the holler during the race. And couple other guys around us. Well, their stuff seemed to be intact, and you're not thinking, you know, like, man, this
is this when you're with DK?
No, this is when I was still at Active.
Right.
Tail end of the Active deal for me, and blah 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 blah. So this gets back to how I got to DK because, like I said, I left this particular guy at Bristol. This is, you know, night blah 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 blah. It wasn't a night race, but by the time you're leaving, that pouring rain. This guy gets lost and whatnot. Can't find him. You don't have cell phones like you do now. But getting back to that, me and another kid had money stolen. And then talking, another guy, apparently radios were coming up missing. Well, years later, they found out the guy that I left behind was the one doing the stealing.
Really?
Yeah. A guy called me. He said, hey, you ain't going to believe this, man, but here's how this went down. And so, yeah, go to figure. So I ended up DK's because somehow I think Horton, well, because they had tossed Horton, too. The Active got rid of Horton for Trickle, which I got to work with Trickle, which was cool, you know. Yeah. And a couple rip-roaring nights. One super-duper rip-roaring night with him at, what's the Akutiki Lounge. I can't remember what hotel that was but we was blowed out in there. And that's not where we were staying, I don't believe, because there was another place Trickle stayed, and he had like the huge Wisconsin contingent, but it was like he wasn't like old, but this place is like a retirement home. I mean, the crowd in there was like, it was all, you can see why NASCAR has to chase a younger crowd, but that was the deal there. So I end up, because Horton was still hanging around, going back and forth, doing some stuff, and he was doing stuff for Schrader, like some ARCA stuff, and Schrader, back when Schrader was over there on Windy Road in Concord. So pretty sure it was Horton told me to go see Ivan Baldwin at DK's. And Ivan, which huge West Coast prominence back in the day, and what Ivan was a hell of a fabricator and stuff. So I go over there, talk to Ivan, and a couple days later I got a job. Tony Furr was the crew chief and stuff. So I did that, and that I can't remember how that lasted. Maybe right about a year, because that had a rather strange ending. It's I don't. You probably want me to get into it, right?
Sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
sure. Yeah, show my ass some more. So that was another one. You're working darn near 7 days a week and whatnot, but it was cool. It was a cool crowd over there and whatnot. And let's see. Well, Sax had driven the car the year before, so that was cool for me. Sax knows where the floorboard is. He ain't afraid to put the pedal down, And we actually run good, but we were on the Hoosier tires, and our motors wouldn't last. We were like, I think it was the last race of the year. I mean, we were like stretched out by a straightaway on them at Atlanta, and then the motor give up. But so I'm working on the car 6-7 days a week, and I'm pitting the car. A few of us in the shop pitting the car. This is before it was all, intricately specialized like it is now. Back then, you had Penske, Felix's had a good team, another 3 or 4. So you had like 6 of your marquee teams, another 6 and then you got beyond that. It was, people like me and the rest of the gang. You just get the tires on and off and whatnot, and just try not to have a Chinese fire drill, and you were accomplishing something. So we're flying on the Race Day Express, which this was all DKs. It was cool as all hell, don't get me wrong. So, you're blah, 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 blah. So I end up one day, and on the way home, there was a lot of drinking and stuff on the plane. And, I'm not one that's smart enough to say, I've had enough. So I ended up playing a harmonica over the intercom, made up a song, sitting there. I'm just a hostage on the Race Day Express, was the deal. So, well, Monday morning, I don't know if they came over to the shop or called on the landline again, because this is like 94 or so, 95 maybe. There's not you didn't have the huge cell phone deal. I sure as hell didn't have a cell phone and whatnot. Well, it's the guys at Penske's, because they're on the plane and stuff, and they didn't mind laying down either, or having a good time. So, hey, we got this deal where they want you on the John Boy and Billy show. So
you?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So, and I can't remember if someone had to come over and personally tell me that, like through the side door or something, because we're DK, that's Nob Hill Road, I think. You would come in from Highway 150, drive by the pond, and then the first right is Nob Hill. and on the corner was a plastic bottle manufacturer, which is where we on the weekend would fill our forklift up on there. they had a tank out there that wasn't locked, so it's like, no problem. We, forklifts running out of juice, go down there, boom, boom. But so it was us. The next building going up the street was Moroso at the time, and then Penske's. And like Penske's, man, that's Penske's. Like wow, that's Penske's. Woo. So, like man, I don't really need to be, taking this city for. Oh, come on, man, this is gonna be. So all right, it's Monday morning. Not a whole lot going on. So I snuck out, and I went over to Penske's. And so it's like they want me to do this, and that. Like, man, I don't know. It's la 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 la. So come on, man. Come on. All right. So I run back to DK's, grab a harmonica out of my vehicle. Go running back to Penske's, and like Robin was the crew chief back then and stuff. And you're gonna do it. I guess I'm gonna do it. I don't know. So okay, we got this all set up. So they put me in this conference room at Penske's all by myself. And here's the phone. The phone is gonna ring in 5 minutes. Gonna be John Boy and Billy. Well, phone rang and I answered it and I did my and said a few things la 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 and when I had told him I'd do it at Penske, I said, hey, I get fired or something. Can I at least park my toolbox here? You're not gonna get fired. So I went back to work. Nothing, and people are like, yeah, man, that was awesome. Yeah, real awesome, So turns out one kid down in the motor shop had made a recording of it. So, like, the higher-ups, they didn't even hear it. Like, they missed it, and like, well, we went to lunch. And when we were at lunch, they went through like back then y'all had tape recorders and you're playing cassette tapes, we got fancy and then finally got to like a CD player, but it's all cassettes. So one kid had taped it and they went through and found it at lunchtime. So we got back from lunch. And they're all up in the front office, the wigs up there, which there weren't a whole lot of, DK, and I don't know if Diane was there or not, but, I don't even think the crew chief was on there, but they're listening to it, so they come to have a big team meeting. Get big team. He fired me in front of everybody. So it's no biggie. So I had to load the toolbox up. I had to run over to Penske's and say, hey, you told me I could park my toolbox here. It's coming. No shit. I mean, yeah, I'm serious as a heart attack.
Is that how you wound up at Penske?
No.
Or was that later?
No, that was later.
Okay, all
That's
right.
another stop.
All right, so Philmar, you were telling me before we started recording, you and Toucan Murray met Harry Hyde at a restaurant.
Yeah, so
Tell me that story.
Well, this is later on now. This would be probably getting near the end of. We'd actually have to look when Harry died so I could see, because I know when I got canned out of Philmar, but we got like a reoccurring problem here. But this had nothing to do with being on the radio or anything like that. But I believe it was towards the end of I can't remember if it was already morphed into the Cup car or not. We almost need to see when Harry passed away so I would know what year it was. Me and Toucan used to go in this little Chinese restaurant, Route 29 in Concord. It's a strip mall now. It's owned by the church now, the whole deal. And we'd have lunch in there 3 times a week. And a lot of times Harry Hyde would come in. Harry was working. He had, one of them legacy positions at Hendrick. And all we ever did was, hey, how you doing? How you doing? So we crossed paths with him, a fair amount, but nothing more than saying, hey, how you doing? So one day we're in there. Harry come, me and Toucan are already sitting down eating. Harry comes in, he comes up to the table, and he's there. Toucan, you remember that deal in Mexico? I was doing everything I could for you guys. And Toucan, yeah, the way Toucan, and just, I was doing everything. I was trying to get a hold of the consulate and this and that, and we're just, yeah, you know. And that was that. And it was a day or two later, Harry was dead from his heart attack.
Wow.
I mean, it was just one of them goofy deals that this time, out of the blue, he initiated conversation about Toucan and this Mexican hacienda there. the sightseeing tour. It was like a Gilligan's Isle, the 3-hour tour.
So,
can you imagine a truck driver and a team doing that today? That'd be so awesome. I mean, it would be. Yeah. I'd have so much more respect for them than I do now with all this glossed up, slicked up, you know.
Yeah. So you kind of talked about getting canned from Fillmar. How big a story is that?
What's not real big. It's well, I went in there was so after DK's and Ivan wanted me to come over to work with him. Ivan had left or got canned from DK's. He was at Schrader's, where Schrader run the short track cars and stuff off on Windy Road, at the compound over there. And I had already started just hanging with Toucan through my brother. Well, he's my brother-in-law now. He wasn't then. And it was a tough choice to make, but I just went with Toucan on that the Red Dog Busch car, because there weren't but three of us, me, Toucan, and Dennis Schoenfeld. Schoenfeld's dad owns Schoenfeld Headers. So it was a pretty cool deal, because it was just us. Fillmar themselves was still in Nashville. Then they moved the Cup stuff to Concord. Then the Busch stuff went in the back building there. Then the Busch stuff was gone. We got morphed into the Cup deal. And then one day, Gil Martin and Eddie Jones weren't on the scene anymore, and a little this, a little that, and I knew my time was limited. And then, finally one day I was gone. I was surprised I was there as long as I was, really toward the end. Yeah, they actually did catch me sleeping a little bit on that one.
So you did eventually wind up at Penske.
That was the next stop.
Okay.
Like, no problem. Just went over there, and boom, you're on the program. And they were cool people there, because that was, well, at the time, it was Penske Cranafis, but Cranafis was in his other building, so these were like the original Rusty guys and stuff from back in the, St. Louis presence was in there. A lot of other guys that had been with him quite some time, all, like hardcore short track race. It was a cool deal. Good, super duper people, which made the next move like kind of rough for me. But the end of that year, well, here we go with Toucan again, which I really, and I've told people, I'm basically in Toucan's tire tracks.
Yeah.
I need a slightly bigger set of tires to get out of the rut, maybe. But Toucan had started doing the deal, him and Lance Dieter and stuff. Adam Petty, last minute, is going full-time Busch racing. And they needed, so this is like, man, we're like into January or something. Maybe almost into February, probably January, late January, starting up his Busch team in the back of the driving school behind Charlotte Motor Speedway. all the way in the back, a little right near the paint shop there. So, I got a decent deal at Penske. You ain't gonna get rich or nothing, but it's there. It could have been there to this day. I still got friends that were Timmy Wallace. Timmy had quit. Timmy was one of the smart ones. He quit Philmar and went to work at Penske. Still there. Blah, 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 blah. Since I actually talked to people that I looked up to at Penske's, hey, what do you do here, man? And the consensus was, hey, go do it, So, because you're on the ground floor with Adam, and I was going to be going to the track, which didn't matter to me one way or the other, but back then, and probably to this day, going to the track was where the networking and stuff was going. That's where you're seen. You're not seen in the shop. You're in, and so like, all right, well, if this is going to be my push, this is my push. So I go over there, and, same thing, pitting the car, and I was going to be going to the track. They were so far behind, I never left the shop, other than to hop on a plane and go pit the car. So that's how I ended up at Petty's. Kyle owned the deal, and at the same time, Kyle's deal was on Flow Store Road. I think that might have been MB2 or something when he had the Hot Wheels and stuff. So again, I landed in there with Toucan and them, and they moved the team which I knew was probably going to be how it went. And I made him tell me to my face otherwise, but it didn't quite work out that way. I like Kyle. Kyle's cool. It was a cool deal to do and whatnot. But yeah, they packed up their tent and went up the road at the end of that year.
At what point did you get out of the sport? Because you worked for Billy Ballew on the Truck Series, is that correct?
Yeah, so let me figure this out. So, okay. So I'm out of Adams' deal. So I can't even... Oh, so when I'm at Adams, and I had been going to the pitting the car, and probably about a little past halfway point of the year, change that up, so now I ain't even going to the track anymore. And actually, when I was still at Penske's, because I was working with a guy, Chuck Grafar, who... Chuck was one of the few that ever got fired out of Penske, and it ended up being the best thing for him. He ended up with a hugely successful business on his own and whatnot. But Chuck's father-in-law was a guy named Bill Boger, so Bill goes back to the old Concord Speedway days and the deal with Terminal Trucking, which I can't remember that gentleman's name, Gene Eisenhower, and all that late model stuff. So Bickle was in there. And actually, when I was working with Ralph Munzer, we were painting stuff for Bickle. And then the craziest thing, try not get too far out of the loop here, that wreck at Talladega, Richie Petty was in it. We painted that car at Ralph's shop. So I had two cars in that wreck. Only my second race ever. And I got two cars. Yeah. And actually, we painted the car and whatnot. And then they wanted me to, I assembled it. Like, they don't even know me, and I'm assembling this car. And I'm sure they took it back, put the setup in it and whatnot. But I'm like, man, So getting back to that now, I lost myself. Where the hell? We're going to two cars.
Talking about getting out of the sport.
Out of the sport. Okay, so I'm at Penske's. So Chuck Grafar's father-in-law, well, he was doing stuff for Bobby Gill in the Hooters series, which the Hooters series was an awesome thorn in NASCAR's side. They didn't want you to know about the Hooters series and whatnot. On TV, granted, so we were like 20 to 24 races a year dependent. So about every other week, race on Saturday night, 250 lap race every other week. And you raced Saturday night, and that thing was shown either on Monday or Tuesday night on Speed Vision. Like, not 2 weeks later, like, just one day of production or something. It's on TV. So I started going a couple times with Bob just to pit the car. Chuck was changing the tire, and I'm jacking the car, and so that's how I met Bob. And then when I wasn't going to the track with Adam anymore, Bob was keeping his car. I can't even remember the guy's name. He used to work for the track. He was in the building behind the speed. Jivey Simpson, out of Concord, Mount Pleasant. It's where Bob kept his Hooters car that he was racing. One car, one motor. Bob's from, he's originally from Florida, but he was coming out of Dalton, Georgia, and he's leading the points in the championship deal. Working on his car out of Mount Pleasant. So I was going over there, helping him knock the body out, stuff like that, bang, 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 and then going to the track on the weekends with him. And that's how I started with Bob. So after the Kyle Petty deal was done, Bob wins the championship, bang, bang, and he was going to quit racing. Well, last minute he changes his mind. So that following in, like middle of January or something, he decides he's coming back and hired me full time. So I did another probably 3+ maybe 4 something full years with Bob. We won in Hooters, 3 championships in a row.
Wow.
And and all good things must come to an end and whatnot. It was kind of Wood Brother like. Wood Brothers was all that. And then the tires fell off on Pearson on pit road and I'm sure other stuff had gone on. But me, we're at one of them, and to this day, I hated it when Hooters was the first one to start doing that stupid playoff stuff. And which I weren't writing the checks, so I let them know how I felt about the deal. Because they had started a North Series, the South Series. Well, the North Series, when it started, was so inferior. Not that there weren't some good racers up there, don't get me wrong. Overall, it was inferior to the Southern deal. But at the end of the year, they come down, they're on equal footing. Some guy that finished 7th or 8th in the regular season in the South deal, he was working his rear end off. 7th place in the Northern deal was finishing like 8 laps down. It's just one of them deals, and I don't like this 4 deal, roll the dice baloney, and it just is how I feel. I let them know, and I was actually polite about it, but I weren't signing the checks, and I understand that. So I did that deal with Bob, and my deal ended up which I didn't realize he was going through the divorce. I didn't even know it had gotten. Was that. So had I known, maybe I'd have approached it a little differently. But crawled out from under the car at practice at Peach State and said, that's it, I'm done. Just, what was coming over the radio, this, that, and the next thing is you can only take so much. And me and Bob are like best friends now anyway, so it don't matter. We had great success together when the deal was hugely competitive and whatnot, and paying money, and was on TV, and it was good times. So that was that, and so that morphed in the Ballew's truck deal. I did a couple one-offs with them, and then Billy got me on the side. Dude, can you go you want to work in there some more and whatnot? He says, these guys are, they're busting their asses and what. And Shane Meal was driving at the time. So, I went over there, and Shane was, that whole deal sucks because Shane just needed a little, he was kind of like a Tim Richmond. But, fast. Yeah. But just certain concentration lapses and stuff. Yeah. And just like, you had to drive through someone's rear bumper. Well, now our radiator's in the fan. It's like, what'd you do that for? But as far as being fast and going fast at these places, it was like ungodly, like almost like too easy. And that might have been part of the problem. And we did win one Las Vegas race. So it's a private, this is a one-man team, Billy Ballew, like used car salesman. I love him to death and whatnot. He might be someone to get in here For it's just super duper guy. It was cool stuff, So I can't remember how much time there. And it was getting the rule changes, the this or that, and it's just one thing. And then I'm looking how hard he was struggling to just try and keep floating. And then the second truck has to come on board to pay for it. And I just had enough. So it was kind of a mutual deal at the end of one year. Did go out with somewhat of a bang. Got into a minor melee at Martinsville. Wow, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, tell me all about it.
Well, we're looking over. It was Kyle Busch was driving because Shane had left us because he had the Busch deal, and then ended up getting suspended. And I told them, because, Shane is Shane. I'm like, Shane, man, you're just careful here, man. It's your career. You're a good kid and stuff. Shane was Shane. And still friendly with him and whatnot. But, so my fuse is running short on this, whole NASCAR deal. And I'm just, might be great for someone. Me, I was just kind of getting tired of it. And so Kyle's driving, and Kyle won his first truck race driving for us. Probably already had cup wins under his belt, but his first truck victory was in, one of the truck we did at Ballew's. So I think, pretty sure it was a fall race. Had to be. And I think Hornaday was checked out on. If it weren't Hornaday, it was Skinner. It was one of the two of them. You weren't going to touch them. They probably led almost every lap of the race. One of them, which I don't have a problem with. You're good. Go race. And the Truck Series, they're not as inclined to throw the flag for the Twinkie wrapper, Yeah. So you got what you got. So Kyle was battling with Johnny Benson for second, I believe. And I believe it was coming to the white flag. If it wasn't coming to the white flag, it was coming to 2 to go. So they get in, they have a kerfuffle in the middle of turn 3 and 4. So I don't even remember who finished where or what. So the race is over. We're pitted down almost halfway between turn 1 and 2 was our pit. You're already into turn 1. So I went toward the front stretch just to make sure that Kyle didn't get swarmed, because that was for whatever reason, and I know a couple people worked there. Actually, a kid that changed tires for me a little bit on Bobby Gill's car. He was working at Bill Davis, but somehow we just never had a good relationship with them. That's just one of them deals, like some people don't rub each other the right way or whatever. So, So nothing, I don't know if they got him in the holler or what, but no biggie. Kyle's secure. So I go back to our pit area, and we got the thing on jack stands. You got to turn in your tires. Well, a couple of this is like 12 years ago now or so, but, we were well into the deal, these little tire changers. They don't work on the car or nothing, or the truck, or probably can't change the spark plug in your lawnmower. So they come up, a couple of them giving lip to a kid changing was on the right rear of the truck, because he had come to us from Bill Davis, and he's a cool kid, Shrek. So he's like, get out of here. So they go to the right front, and the crew chief, Richie Waters, he's changing the tire there. I was on the left rear, got my left rear done. Now I'm on the left front, and they're mouthing, he's like, get the F out of here. They wouldn't shut up. So they come across the nose of the truck, and I about got my tire finished, and they still this. I just had enough. So as the kid was crossing the wall to go back through, I jumped up and I jacked him up. And I did get the jump on him, but I mean, if you can jump the green flag and get away with it, that's what you do. So I got the jump on him, and I just jacked him up by his neck. And I was going to headbutt him because, like, all of a sudden, like, the crowd goes crazy. You know, this is right after. And that's all they had to cheer about all day because, like I say, it was Hornaday or something. Just walk the dog. So I had him by the neck, and I've thought about headbutting him. You know, like, this happens quick. You got to think. And, you know, I should have headbutted him because, like, I was on my way out anyways. But I'm so I took my palm and I just slapped by the forehead. I was smashing his head into Bobby Dotter's pit box, and did leave a dent. And so the crowd goes nutty, you know, and I'm like, yeah. So now, you know, stupid, you get, you know, this is going to be the WWE. Now I'm going to really give the crowd something. So now I reach on him. And he's got a grip on me because I was going to go flip him, like really give him. It ain't happening, you know. And come to find out he was like a cage fighter or something. I don't know. So we do this little dance, and I was able to get him to the ground. And there was more Bill Davis people in our pit area than there was Billy Ballew stuff. So we got a scrum going on, and I got one grainy picture of the deal. There wasn't a whole lot in print and whatnot. I found one on the computer a few days later. So now we got the pile. There are no punches or nothing. Bunch of people. Ballew's ex-wife was there. She's got a steel mug coffee can, so she's drilling some guy on the back of the head with the coffee. It was awesome. You know, you should get appearance money for that stuff. It's the only thing the crowd had to cheer about all day. So sure enough, that's a call to the trailer, you know. So me and Richie Waters go to the trailer and walk in there. So at the time, Robin is now working for NASCAR. So I'm like, okay, I'm good with Robin. That's cool. And Wayne, and so I was good with Wayne. Wayne's a good guy, truck, which he's Busch now, or well, Nextel? What do they even call that stuff now? Xfinity, yeah. Xfinity. Well, but he was the truck guy back then. So I'm like, all right, you know, because he'll just, you know, it's his job. He'll have to yell at me and stuff. But it ain't probably, you know, it's kind of like your mom spanking you or something. And then there's some old guy NASCAR, like I'd never seen in my life. And they're the ones you got to worry about because I don't know him and he might not know me. And like, where did this guy? I've never seen him in my life, you know. And maybe one other person, but I don't believe there were any other higher-ups in there or nothing. So it's like, well, what happened? So I told him exactly what happened. And he said, yeah. Because we watched it on the video, which tells me, and I got to find someone that can go back. We'll find the date of the race. I want to see the video, you know.
Yeah.
So I knew it was out. Yeah, he said, you look like a tiger jumping out of the cage. And I said, yeah. I mean, he mouthed off there. He said, guy wouldn't shut up. I said, I've had enough. I said, I'm just to the point where I don't. He said, well, do you know this guy? I says, no. I said, I don't know any of these people anymore. And Robin's like, yeah, me either. And you just look at what's walking down pit road, just a bunch of, you know, fancy hairdos and, you know, $300 sunglasses. And like, I don't know none of these jokers. So it was all right. Nothing. No, nothing. Any punches? No punches. All right, that's about what it looked like to us. No, behave yourself. So that was that. Went out with a bang.